or tribal violence is basically colonial violence. You kill people. The reason you're killing the people because you want to maintain somebody is in defense of imperialism. If you take the violence in the Congo, for example, the violence that happened in Katanga in the 60s, it was no tribal violence. It was a violence to maintain status quo, to maintain Belgian domination over the Congo. So the best way to do it is to split the population, say, okay, this is the Balubakat, this is the Konakat, you know, and then arm Chombe and his guys and attack the rest of the population, particularly people in the North Katanga who opposed Chombe, and Chombe was nobody, it was the creation of the Belgian rules. So that violence was not tribal violence, it was a violence to maintain colonialism, to prevent Lumumba from being a prime minister throughout the Congo. It was a violence to make sure things don't move, the Belgians stay in control. It has nothing to do between tribe and stuff like that, because before colonialism, there was no violence like that. I'm not saying people didn't fight. I'm not saying there was no conflicts, you know, but there was no colonial conflict. It was a conflict we can sit down and resolve it. If there was a war, it was just like war, but not a permanent war, not a war to kill everybody, you know, in a way that is just despicable. No, nothing like that. And also, when they show us on the television, people starving, all that, and they say, look at Africa, you know, 60 years after, 52 years after independence, we can't feed ourselves. But they don't say, this hunger started since colonialism. So it's been going on for several centuries. And when you see hunger, the way we see it in Africa, that's colonial hunger. Because people are not paid, forced labor. What do you mean forced labor? It means you're going to starve. Because first they don't pay you, and forced labor means you're doing work against your will, and you're carrying heavy weights. You should see some the footage about forced labor. You're being whipped and all that. Basically, what I'm trying to say, hunger, underdevelopment, all kind of violence you see among the oppressed is colonial violence. They are violence created by colonialism. As opposed to, because the imperialism, they're very skillful, they get people to go to universities and explain things differently. They come and say, speak like this, they create tribal violence, they should blame yourself, you always tribe guys, get developed. And they create gangs, gang violence, all these are colonial violence. And they create gender violence. It's true, you go men beating their women, but in the condition of imperialism, all the violence are linked to imperialism. Because you can't resolve all these violence if you don't deal with imperialism, with colonialism. I just want to say that, neocolonialism carries colonialism. So in fact, you can't say Africa is free. The only thing that changes is the administration, the administration is gone. The white administration is being replaced by black administration. That's the only thing that changed. But colonial condition is the same. That's why everyone says things are worse today than they used to be. Mm-hmm. Basically what they're trying to say, colonial condition has deepened. They've never gone away. People used to walk barefoot in Africa, the majority they see barefoot. People have 1 meal or less than 1 meal a day. It's still the same today. Everything just expensive and we don't control the minds, nothing. So colonial condition, that's really is the words we should be using all the time. Colonial schools, colonial police, colonial price, colonial markets, and stuff like that. It's not just a picker market, it's a colonial market. So we just go there to spend our money, not to build our community. It's not a market that's conducive to development of the community. But what really is fundamental to us today when we talk about neocolonialism, we need to discuss the condition that allows the society to move from colonialism to neocolonialism. That is what we see is fundamental. Can I get rid of this? I'm going to try to have some discipline watching the board. I lost my discipline. I don't really, because when you used to work, you do that. You keep the board in a certain way, but now I really don't do it. So basically, this is the essence. we are here. Remember this line, as we usually say, oppressed nation and oppressor nation. So we have oppressor nation here and oppressed nation here. So what keep us together? That's colonialism. The borderline there, that's the chain that keep us together. The glue, whatever we call it. This is what keep us together, colonialism. These will keep us together. Colonialism allows your people, oppressed nations, to be oppressed. Colonialism allows that. And that's the strategy of imperialism, is to colonize other people. So in the 50s and the 60s, a struggle emerged. Struggle emerged. Now, this struggle, as we often say, is being led by a small amount of people. We call those people the African petty bourgeoisie. This is a social force. This group emerged as the leader of the oppressed nation against the oppressor nations. Now, what's happening? They want to be free, but the freedom they're talking about just to become the new managers, the administrators. And what they did, they went outside Africa. They went to the Soviet Union, for example. They went to the Soviet Union. They also went to China. To do what? To get resources, material resources, to fight against the oppressor. So if you were in Angola, somewhere there, you're going to be free from the Portuguese. No European nation will help you. So people ran to Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union was known at the time as, let's say, a socialist or Marxist state, something like that. And people from Africa, when they come here, to get the help from the Soviet Union give them conditions too. You have to become a socialist or Marxist. So suddenly, overnight, we begin to have people in Africa calling themselves socialist or Marxist, something like that. What we learned later on, it didn't mean anything for them. Only thing they knew, if Soviet Union backs them up, they can force the oppressor nation to sit on a negotiating table and say, listen, I can't fight you anymore, guys. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Oh, from today, you're going to be the president of Angola. Okay, what's the deal? Okay, the deal is don't touch the mine, don't touch nothing. You get your cut, keep the mine, the diamond flowing to Europe, and give me my flag, get yourself a new flag, and I leave the colonial house, the governor house, and the prime minister is going to live in that house, and everybody, before independence, not everybody, everyone from that group will go to the colonial town. Okay, this is going to be my house. That's what they did. And the white man leaves Africa, and the new African rulers get in those houses, and they have new flags, embassies, and stuff like that. And suddenly we have a so-called new nation. Everything the same. These, instead of being called colonial, now it being called neo-colonial line. Instead of calling, instead of calling you nigger, they call you Mr. Nigger, things like that. That's the only change. Instead of, you couldn't come to Europe, now you can come to Europe, just apply for visa, stuff like that. So basically, that's one. The second thing that is of interest for us is this. In the struggle to end this relationship, we say the African people bourgeoisie led it. But what they need to tell us is that the struggle did not end. The people didn't get their freedom. It also means that all the problems, all the unresolved questions were left unresolved. What kind of system do you want in Africa? That was the question in the 60s. So that question stayed until your generation, my generation, and a coming up generation, is unresolved. What system do you want? Stuff like that. What is our philosophy? What is the role of this particular social force? What kind of market do we want? What kind of state do we want? We want a federal state, or we want a united continental single African state? All these questions, there are plenty of questions. Role of women, what's the position of role of women? Did you say anything about it? What did you bring? all these questions are supposed to be printed out, discussed thoroughly in the country by everybody, so everybody's clear. It did not get done. So what basically I'm trying to say is in the struggle for liberation, all questions have to be discussed and resolved and a clear line adopted. You see, this is the line of the revolutionary. The other line is the line of people against revolution. That's like it should have been. Since it was not done, what's happening now, when you go to a demonstration, any demonstration of black people, anywhere, is confused. Why? Because all the question the people in the crowd are grappling with are the question left over from the 60s, unresolved. So people will say, okay, what flag is that? The Nigerian flag. Or at least the Congo people know you should not take that flag out because the question of identity and African unity has not been resolved. So all these kind of things like that. So what I'm trying to say now, when we talk of struggle for liberation, we're talking of picking up things where they were left off and begin to address every single question that we are facing, every single question. So we can have correct line, and our line has to be a revolutionary line, and what is the wrong line, which is the line of the oppressor, of the opportunists. Who are the opportunists? The element of the African petty bourgeoisie in particular. Here, you have two kinds of African petty bourgeois force. You've got the one we do refer to as the bureaucrats. The bureaucrats are people like the generals, the chief of police, like the one who killed Shibea, John Numi, people like that. They're the generals. They are there to maintain the state as a tool to oppress the people, as the tool that guarantee the power of African petty bourgeoisie over the masses. So you got the bureaucrats. You also have the compradors. That's something we borrowed from Latin America, I think. The compradors are people who depend on having a good job. Like I'm the general manager of Coca-Cola. You know, we gave the example the other day in South Africa. Every ANC leader is a comprador, most of them. Which means if you take Coca-Cola and you go to the boardroom of Coca-Cola company in South Africa, you know, you go the US man there, the CIA man there, you're going to have someone from the ANC also sitting there. That's the condition for neocolonialism there. They give him a big pay, big salary, and it doesn't say anything about the condition of working, the exploitation of South Africa. So they are the compradors. So you can go anywhere in Africa, you will see what company dominates, like Gabon. You will know the company is Gabon, it's going to be Alpha, Total. And the Africans that have the top job there, they are the compradors. They get their cards, and they don't say nothing. They know. It's not they don't understand, they do understand. They've been in universities, they're clever guys. You know, first grade, stuff like that. They know. You'll get your cards, don't say anything. That's it. That's how they do. And he also they want to marry the daughter of Prime Minister of France. Say, okay, come in my house. That's what they do. That's why every one of them there, that's what they did. So basically, what we're trying to say, I'm maybe left. Okay, what we're trying to say here, Africa is not free. We just moved from colonialism to neocolonialism. Everything is the same, except just the management, the administration. And secondly, we want to say that for the struggle to go forward, all the questions that have not been resolved need to be resolved. Which means that, like, that's why we do the political education. We want people to be equipped so that when you are out there in the world, you have to be able to, people come to you to say, Kindoki is the problem now. Mm-hmm. You see? And because this is a political line. Kindoki is the problem. The children are the problem. It's the political line. Somebody's putting that line to do what? To cover up for the African petty bourgeoisie and the imperialism, which means you'll be fighting your cousins, your brothers. I just got a call 2 days ago from my friend in France telling me my friend who worked very hard to get his sisters in Europe. He married his sister, you know, I have people do things. He married his sister, that's why his sister stayed. But he was already engaged to somebody else who had his papers. But he said, I have to help my sister. But today, they're saying my friend is a witch. And he's so depressed that his own, you know, sisters and brother, I can't tell you, he worked hard to get his brother in Europe. And the same brother also is against him. So he doesn't understand, so he starts drinking as a result of that. So if you own according to your wish, psychologically it's a torture. You know, so that's what happened. You know, it's a political line they put in the community so the community can identify the really problem. You know, so we're saying that we need to begin to get all the questions, all the lines that in the community, look at it, and expose it as a line in defense of neocolonialism and bring the correct line. If they say, for example, Kindoki is a problem, this person is Kindoki, what we can do, and get the statistics, just in terms of how many people die in a company that produces, let's say, cobalt, or the village that lives where there is diamond mine or any mineral, and see the impact of the contaminated water coming from the mines on the people. So you need to bring some science, political education to the people so they can see that you die, because your brother did not, send you some money, but because you've been drinking that contaminated water, and there is no doctor in the village, etc., etc. So we will bring something like that. So the last thing I have to say about neocolonialism, this is something we're going to do a lot of work on it. Principled struggle. See, people who join neocolonialism are people with no principled struggle, no revolutionary principles. The starting point is what? What comes to their pockets. That's the starting point. The starting point for us is what? Revolution is the starting point. What do you mean by revolution? Because the only thing that will save the masses, the people, is revolution. So the starting point for us is the masses, the people. And the revolution is the solution for that. But we say the masses will be the workers, the peasant, those who produce the wealth in the country, the majority. But for us to move from colonialism to neocolonialism, you need one more element, which is linked to this. People hate principled struggle. They are for unprincipled struggle. For example, if there's a dispute, they don't want the people to know about it. They want to do it backdoor. Why? Because they are not about building anything to solve real problems. They're about getting to the ballroom. So if you begin to do principled struggle with them, the masses will have a say. Oh, you mean in that, an example I gave last time, you're saying the bank account of the organization and the leader of the group is the same. So the leader of the organization doesn't want that discussion to take place in public because everyone will say, no, nobody does that. If you do that, that's corruption. But the opportunist who's trying to fill his pocket, that's the one that. If somebody want to talk about it, say, can you come over here? They discuss. Maybe you two can become a signatory in that bank account and get you corrupt, stuff like that. That's how they do it. Mobutu, that's what we are told. If you're working too hard, anyway, that will bring us up to the point. So basically, we want people to begin to get engaged in a struggle based on the principles, revolutionary principles. If we say you will never steal from the masses, you should never take the resource that belongs to the people. That's a revolutionary principle. So how can you justify, you having like Mrs. Basis, for example, and you are a leader of the revolution organization? What kind of revolution there that makes the leaders millionaires? It doesn't exist like that. That will be opportunism. There are many things like that, but the key thing, as I'd like to say, is that for us to bring back principled struggle, where struggling as a starting point based on what you can get for yourself. But you're making a struggle, how to make the organization better. You're making a struggle, how can the masses benefit from this policy. So every time you want to discuss, you want to engage in the struggle, it's always what is better for the people, what is better for Africa, what is better for the majority. That's principle. But every time you come, you say, okay, I come to this meeting, will I get a job? Will I get paid? It's always personal, me. That's individualism, and it will lead you always in having unprincipled struggle. That's why I gave the example of Soviet Union and Africans. Those Africans went to the Soviet Union and say to the whole world they are revolutionary. So they got money on our behalf because they say they are revolutionaries. As soon as the white man say you can sit down and negotiate, they get the books, put them in the cupboard, and we're going to give you every single country that used to call themselves revolutionary or Marxists. Congo Brazzaville, Sassou Nguesso, Benin, I don't remember the name of the guy, Angola, Zimbabwe, all of them, they used to say they were revolutionaries. All of them. You know?
Too.
Oh yeah, all of them.
To some degree.
Even in South Africa, the ANC, they can't tell us how many members of the Communist Party were part of ANC. They can't tell us. We just know the leader of one of the leaders of ANC, Joe Slovo, was the leader of the South African Communist Party. So basically, I will just end here on the question of, there are many things to say about neocolonialism. You know, one thing is what we call counter-insurgency. Because for neocolonialism to emerge, you don't just need people who are unprincipled, but you also need to have what we call counter-insurgency. Counter-insurgency, we're going to spend a good 2 hours just on that. Counter-insurgency. This is a war, a form of war, that has no terms. You know, for example, when England is fighting Japan, or Germany is fighting France, they have convention. So if you, for example, if the Germans capture British Navy sailors or whoever, they don't torture them. You know, they take care of them. Come here, this is the coffee, this is the tea, give them codes. That's convention. So you don't mix with each other. But if America goes to war against a native Indian America, there is no convention. Shoot to kill. So I'm saying, get a scalp. Anything is allowed. That's kind of sense. Something you do to oppress people, to take their life, to take the dignity, to take everything from them. The rape in the Congo, that's kind of sense. That's one aspect. Another aspect is assassination of leaders. You know, cut the head off, so it doesn't go anywhere. So you will see assassination of Lumumba. Well, everybody says that anyway. Why they always kill our black leaders? They do it because their assumption is if you kill the leaders, the movement will go nowhere. So that's what they do, kill them. But what they also realize is not enough to kill the leaders. If the community is well organized, it will reproduce itself, push more leaders in the front. So what they do, they go for the grassroots now, demoralize the grassroots. That's why we have now drugs in the UK, drugs everywhere. Where black community is located everywhere, drugs is there. So it doesn't matter how many people locked up, but drugs is there to make sure nobody is sane, nobody is well enough to think long term. When you're on drugs, you can't think long term. That's some of the aspects. But for all this to occur, the political condition, like in the Congo, they unleash counter-insurgency. One of the conditions is what? Is when the African petty bourgeoisie and the colonizers, I'm going to end here. When, so at any given time, political and ideological struggles get hot. Basically, like for example, we have the Patrice Lumumba coalition. It's a political program, but it's guided by some ideology. So when these political and ideological struggle reach a certain point, that the colonizer or imperialist cannot control the brain, cannot control the politics in the community. Like in the 59 in the Congo, for example, it became clear to the Belgian, you don't have to be a university lecturer. It became clear to them from the 4th of January 59, is a new Congo being born. The people are different. They were scared of white man. They see white becoming stony, and the news went all over Congo that if you can catch the Belgian colonizer, do something to them. So it tells them they can't rule you as in all the way. They have to change. So when they reach that point, condescendency becomes like, so basically they're not talking to you politically. They're not trying to dissuade you, to persuade you. They're trying to tell you, okay, you want to be free, we won't kill you. It's physical elimination. It's war basically, that's what they do, condescendency. Just kill anyone who has created this situation where they cannot control the brain, you know. So, like here we are now, people feel, oh, preaching is free, you know. You can have your meeting, you can give your leaflet. The only reason happening because the British government does not think that the black community has to reach a critical point where there's a total rejection. Politically, ideologically, the ruling class is defeated. You see what I'm saying? Defeated. Like Malcolm X time. People can say in America, the majority of black people begin to listen to Malcolm X. It means that ideologically and politically, the US ruling class is defeated. People don't listen to them anymore. Whatever they say, oh, come on, Malcolm X say that. So that was the same case in the Congo. Oh, Lumumba say that, Lumumba say this. So you don't listen to the person anymore. So if you reach that that point, you should expect heavy guns to be on it. You should expect that. So now, that is something we know now. We didn't know then, but we know now. Now, if you win politically, ideologically, your enemy can't talk politically, ideologically, they'll talk with guns with you. That's why they have a problem with Islam, militant. Because you have all these rise of Islam as an ideology that the poor people believe is the way forward for them. You know, in the absence of a revolutionary who can explain things differently, stuff like that. So, yeah, basically, I just want to say that basically was one of the conditions for the counterinsurgency to come, which means you kill Lumumba, you kill all these guys, and what do you do? The people you didn't kill, that was your guy. And you say, these are your leaders. So Mobutu become the leader. You kill Lumumba, you bring Chombe, you bring all these guys, you say these are the leaders. And you kill Senwe, all these guys who oppose them. Kill them. And then say the leaders are these guys. And that's what they did in the Congo, that's what they did in the US. You kill Malcolm X, you kill Martin Luther King, then you bring Jesse Jackson, you say this is the leader. And everyone thinks Jesse Jackson has always been the leader of black people in America. It wasn't. It comes there as a result of assassination of the real leaders. So that's counterinsurgency. That's neo-colonialism basically. You know, just like South Africa, you go to kill Sobukwe for you, the ANC, to be the organization. So I know it's about 20 minutes, so we just want to stop here. And if there's some discussion, then we can go quickly and carry on.
Okay, so